video is going to be about the Bears or Crandell Slab areas. And this is nice. You'll see the Bears hump off here down to the left. I think this another picture may be a little bit better. Oh, guess not. So you'll see this just off to the right behind Bears hump. So you follow the tourist trail up the hump. And then at the last switchback that sort of really cuts back left, you're going to, I think that's probably down around here. Anyways, you'll just get through the trees, cut across. Since the fire, it's been much easier, and then you'll head up the talus. And I think usually, I mean, you can wind up on this gully. Usually, I think you usually wind up here and getting down. Doesn't really matter. There's the lower slabs. Here's the upper slabs. The lower slabs are sort of more old school. The upper slabs are the new ones where the multi-pitch bolted roots are. And then all these little short bubble wrap slabs are actually really nice climbing, surprisingly, down in here. And I think there'll probably be a lot more roots put up in here. So let me go through basically the stuff. So the lower slabs were climbed probably for a long time, probably in the 70s and 80s. That's when the wardens used to get told to, for their practice days, hey, you guys need to find a climb, head up a pitch, and come back. And so there were lots of old bolts, including old bongs and nuts in here on either side when I went up there in the 90s. And so the first climbs that were established were these slab climbs. Gorgeous slab climbing. If you're not used to slabs, they'll feel hard. I mean, we've climbed them in tennis shoes all the time. And once you get used to the rock and handling the friction, they feel real easy. Until then, they'll feel scary. So like wall climbers who aren't used to slabs are going to be freaked out on these climbs. The bolts are fairly far apart, and they start off reasonable down at the bottom. And then the bolts are just basically put in there to keep you from a ground fall. So I think up near the top, you get like a 50-foot run out before you top out. And if I'm remembering them correct, they were probably either placed on lead or bolted in by hand. And I can't remember which one we did, if we had worked the roots before we bolted it to verify the placements, or if we just went up on lead and pounded them in. Could be that it was one of each for those two climbs. Anyways, gorgeous climbs, just beautiful. Not too technical, but if you don't like runouts, you probably won't like them. So in which case, get up and do the gear climbs off to the side and then get to the anchors and climb them that way. I think they're close to a full pitch. And then we also did some ice climbs in there. The slabs over and ice in the winter. So those two are gorgeous climbs. These other ones are more just historical climbs that I'd never really do. Down here is the loose noose climb. Now that could be better. That was like one of the first leads I did back in 1990. And I remember being freaked out on it with not good gear and loose rock. I haven't been up it since. But I mean, maybe in hindsight, that's a nicer climb than I remembered. And maybe some pins would have made it much easier. But anyways, if someone works that again and feels the need to put a bolt in there, I think that would sort of be in keeping with the vibe of this area now. And then there is, just over here, is where that, what's it called? Probably Duke or something is, and that's a nice little crack. I'll show some people. Let me see if I can see the name over here. Crandell. Tickety Boo. Yeah, so that was a Rory route. So there is a loose noose heading up this thing. I remember this being rotten and this step actually being a bit steep and no gear underneath here before you start to get into the bulge with a piece or two. And hope there was better pieces, but I don't remember there being that much. And then right here is Tickety Boo. And that heads up this crack and then can kind of cut up the face and you can get to the same anchor. So there's the top of Tickety Boo looking down and the bottom. Let's see if I've got any loose noose pictures. No, same ones. There's the old 0.3 megapixel camera. So that's where that baby goes. And then let's look at these guys. The right corner route, there you'll see that gorgeous slab bolted up here. And it's kind of, I really like that. I just love that feel of those runouts up here. It feels like you're actually climbing instead of just clipping bolts. And so I actually really like it. Here you'll see the two roots up there. And I think the left one's a little bit harder, but they're about the same. I mean, I could be wrong there. And then there may be space for another route here, but it gets kind of narrow up near the top, so I'm not sure if there necessarily is. what's inland fishery now. I think I got them both as a 5.7 and a full pitch of 50 meters. Let's see what else there is here. That's it for those pictures. Wave sport, we saw those ones. Now we get into the newer sort of sport climb areas, and I think what's happening is this rock in here, Morgan Fines and Mark Zeeberger and Brad Hagen did a wonderful job putting new routes up in here and really exploring the new potential of the hump. I didn't think, I knew the bubble wrap rock was neat, but never done anything. Things were too small. And then Morgan went, and instead of going up the main slab here, he got into here and explored this stuff, and the rock actually turned out to be pretty nice. Now the grades on Labor of Love, let me show you, there they are. Maybe sort of modern sport climbing grades compared to the old Waterton stuff, so you don't have to worry about the grades on that. Labor of Love, all bolt protected, so you get up basically to this spot and then up over this wonderful rock. Let me see if I've got some pictures of these ones. I'm using Morgan's guidebook info for this. There's Alan Wiley, who also helped out with that, climbing up. And here's sort of that starting scramble to get into the terrain. I think now people will probably use, what is that, Sick Day down below to access it. There you'll see sort of what the climbing is down around here. And then Rory McFarlane also put in a route heading up here, Scimitar on that side. But a little bit of a run out at one spot, so most people probably aren't going to repeat that one. You can find more details in the guidebook, and there's the crux overlaps to get up to there. And then, let me see, Sick Day. Let's see what that one looks like here for pictures. There's the top pitch. This is just before you get to Labor Love. Gorgeous rock. It tends right. Just really funky bubble wrap stuff that you really don't see much. Here's the bottom pitch. It's always hard to find where these things go. You can sort of see one bolt up here. I think this was, if I remember, it was bolted a little bit sparse, but there's sort of the triangle chunk of white rock and then the crappy vertical striated, and then you hit up the water groove. Yeah, it's quite nice. There you'll see it. It looks really low angle, but the climbing's actually reasonably interesting, surprisingly. And there you'll see it from this picture. Here's the Labor of Love area. There's the upper pitch of Sick Day. Here's the lower pitch of Sick Day that you're going up. And then Scrambled Eaves, it takes right up the arête here. I remember when I first climbed Scrambled Eaves, that was gorgeous. Just rope soloed it like I did most of the routes around here in the park. And it wasn't steep enough to really worry about outside of that sort of hex move here at the start. But I went back a few times and figured, this face was always too flat and sort of so rough it would be uninteresting, but nice work on Morgan and everybody for finding that Labor of Love up there. That's on a better rock, so the climbing's more technically interesting than sort of like an exposed scramble. You don't see much more from those pictures there. And then there you can see where Labor of Love is, and then Scrambled Eaves is actually right over there. Heads all the way up to the top. And then there's the knife-edged ridge on Crandell. And then Eyes Above will be down in here. That was Blair trying to get up Scrambled Eaves, and he couldn't quite figure out where the route went. So I think him and Dave ended up going right up underneath. And then, what was it? Marina's, in the corner of Marina's Eyes, that older route from Brad Hagen heads up right here in that corner. And that's one's become popular, which is nice to see again. So anyways, expect a lot of the route development down here amongst the bubble wrap stuff. And I think that about does it for all those slab areas. Let's see these older pictures. I think this is one of Brad's. So right down here is where that tickety boo is, and then there's Loose News. There's the lower slabs. There's the Scimitar heading up that corner, and then Labor of Love. Corner of Marina's Eyes, Scrambled Eaves. Yeah, got that right. That's heading right up that arête and face up to the top there. So that is it for the Crandell Slabs.